The Tlinket People. Where did they live? The First Nations people that live in the most northern part of the west coast of Canada are called the Tlinket People. The ocean is at their front door. The forest is behind them. The winters are the warmest in Canada. However, they have the most rainfall of any place in North America. Many years ago, the weather, the forests, and the ocean were very important to the Tlinket people. How did they use the forest? They used tall cedar trees to build houses. The houses were large, tall rectangles. Many families lived in each house. Windows and doors were left open. Sometimes they were covered with cedar mats to keep out the rain. The wood posts at the front and inside the houses were carved. The Tlinket people carved animal shapes in the wood. They told their history in these carvings and on totem poles. Each family had living space between two large posts on one side of the house. They shared a fire with the family across from them. Because the winters were mild, they could live in one place all year. If they did go away, they used tents made of skins or bark and came back to their homes in a short time. They used the trees to make tools. They made boxes to store things. They even made clothing out of wood. Of course, the trees also gave them firewood, spears, harpoons, and bows and arrows. They dug out canoes from large logs to hunt in the ocean. They traveled up the coast in smaller canoes to visit other people and trade with them. They hunted animals that lived in the forest. They ate berries and edible plants. Medicine also came from the plants. How did they use the ocean and rivers? Most of their food came from the water. They ate the salmon that came up the rivers every year to lay their eggs. There were other fish in the rivers too. They used boats to hunt whales. They also hunted sea otters. The spears they used were as long as 3 men. They needed to know all about the animals if they wanted to feed everyone all the time. They knew when the animals came. They knew the animals' habits and their tricks. Often, the animals and fish were too smart for them. Then, the Tlinket people went hungry. How did they prepare their food? They dried some of the food for the winter. They built smokehouses and smoked the meat and fish. They made pemmican by pounding dried meat and berries together. Some fish dried on racks in the sun. They still had times when they were hungry. Sometimes they ran out of food in the winter before the animals and fish had returned. How did they use the beaches? Their houses were in a line along the beach. It looked like one side of a long street. They could dig for clams or mussels in the sand. They could get fresh water from the rivers that came to meet the ocean. The beach was like a large outdoor workroom. They could unload their catch and prepare it for cooking. They could make their weapons, tools, and storage boxes. They could build their boats, make their clothing, and carve their totem poles on the beach. What was their social life like? The Tlinket people had customs and rules. The mother's family or clan was important. The Tlinket used the raven, the wolf, and sometimes the eagle as a sign of their clan. Villages had people from many groups. People in one family would all belong to the same group. The group made rules about where people could live and when they could get married. The Tlinket people loved ceremonies. A potlatch is a kind of party. They had a potlatch to celebrate many events in the village. They gave gifts to everybody who came. You didn't even need an invitation. The gifts were more like loans than gifts. When another person gave a potlatch, the gifts would be passed on to other people. They danced, ate, and told stories at the potlatch. How was the work divided up? The men and women had different jobs. The men brought the food. They hunted and fished. They made weapons and tools. They also built the large houses and carved the posts and totem poles. These houses were big, and it took many men to build them. Women did all the other jobs. They cooked and dried the food. They made all the clothes. They made the tools they needed to do their work. They looked after the children. Women also did some fishing and all the berry picking. Everyone worked hard. All the tools were handmade from stone, bone, or wood. It took a long time to build a house or dig out a canoe. It also took a long time to make the clothing and prepare the food. The clothes were decorated with things the people found or made. The boys learned the skills of their fathers. The girls learned the skills of their mothers. It was a good life. The Tlinket people had respect for nature. Storytelling taught the children about the past. Stories told them how to take care of the forests, the water, and everything else they needed to live.